Hello gents, how we doing? Well, today we're just going to do a quick video how to make your own strop. You know, a lot of people, well, get a bit bamboozled basically about making a strop, and you know, it can be anything. It can be a piece of, like a pair of jeans, canvas, hemp, linen, all of the above. Like I like leather. I'm a leather crafter. I like leather. You know, you don't need a canvas side, you don't need a linen side. You could have two bits of leather, you know, you could paste one of them up, keep one of them clean. You can, there's just so many ways to do it, it's unreal. But I bought a vintage strop and it come with this piece of leather and a nice linen side, and with like the nice hardware and everything. And I took a bit of a risk buying it, and it didn't kind of pay off, because it started to crack up. And it's the problem with buying something this old. You know, you're talking it's probably, I don't know, 80-year-old, 70-year-old, maybe a little bit more, I don't know, but it's around that mark. Yeah, and it after I cleaned it up and everything, it basically just started to crack. And what I'm going to do is I'm still going to utilise it, but just in a different way. So I've got some little paddle strops upstairs, and I'm just going to take the middle section out of it. So I'm going to end up reusing it, and I will be getting some horse hide at some point. I've got to import it from America, so it's something that turned out to be a bit costly. Right, so what do we do? Well, you just cut it to size. So you need to source some half decent leather. Don't just buy any old leather. This is quite premium leather. This is from a company in the UK that, well, basically deals with premium leathers, and you'll notice it's quite uniform. And it really is quite uniform all the way down. I can't feel any lumps, bumps or anything. It's Birdle leather, and that is the leather that you want. This is really thick leather. This is 5mm. It don't need to be 5mm. They do it in ounces, so you need to have a look at a little chart online. But nearly anybody you could message them and say, like, you know, I want 4mm, I want 5mm, and then be able to tell you, you know, what's what or anything. You know, it don't need to be nothing fancy though. It really don't. Like, you know, so for instance, you could literally just leave this like this, punch a hole in the top, put a piece of paracord or even a pair of shoelaces through it, tie it to something, and then you got yourself a strop, haven't you? You know, it don't need to be fancy. If you're just starting out, I'd always say, if you were going to buy a piece of leather yourself and attempt to do this, always buy enough for two, especially if you're starting out, because you're generally going to wreck your first strop. You know, it's just common knowledge that everybody basically ruins their first strop, because I did, and I don't know anybody that ain't really. Right, so I set my calipers up to the width of the other strop, or just a little bit more, I think I did. And we're just going to mark it that end. We're going to mark it that end. Put a little mark in it, and I have got a rather fancy straight edge. It's one of these Starrett engineering straights that I did actually buy for Leathercraft a long time ago. Is it Starrett? It's grade B, so it's not grade A, but for this task that is very good enough. Let's try and sort of get it that way equal. Somewhere near it. Sorry if my head gets in the way. Let's line them dots up. Right, that's near enough. So it's handy that it's heavy. You know, it's already doing half the job for you. But what is very important is you use a Stanley blade, or if you've got a Leathercraft knife, that'd do, but I just thought I'd use a Stanley blade because everybody can get hold of one. And this is one of them snap-off ones, which are pretty handy to have in the house if you ain't got one. Snapping the clean one off, and you want to make sure, and this is why these are handier. Am I getting that in? Yeah. These are handier because you can extend it a little bit, and they've got a bit of wanginess to them, which helps in this sort of way. And you want to make it so it's nice and comfortable, but as short as you can be, because you don't want it to be changing direction on you. But it's very important that you use a fresh blade, because you want to cut through this in one go, and the reason for that is you make a much better edge. So let's give it a whirl. Obviously keep your fingers and thumbs and everything out the way. There's quite a lot of pressure I'm putting on it. Probably don't need to be doing the amount of pressure I am actually doing, but have we gone through it in one foul swoop? Well, no we ain't. We very nearly did though, didn't we? There. So let's just tease that. There we go, I said do it in one foul swoop. What I do? Didn't do it myself, very nearly though. Yeah, a little strip of leather. Right, so that's that bit. And as you can see, it's relatively straight both sides. Let's get this massive chunk of metal out of the way. You don't want to mess around with that piece of metal, it's quite heavy. Right, so let's just get our piece that we're replicating. That ain't quite a bend in that. Have we got a better end? Yeah, I'd say that end's a bit better than the other end. So we'll go for this end to be the end that we're sort of basically copying. It's going to get covered by the old hardware at the top, so I don't think it matters too much. Again, sorry if my head gets in the way. You know, like I always say, you don't need loads of stones to maintain your razors. If you've got 2 pieces of leather and you put some compound on one of them, I prefer diamond paste myself, but you can use anything that works. And if I was going to put a diamond paste on one side, I'd put half a micron on to start with. You know, see if you were happy with that. If you needed it to be a little bit more aggressive, because you've almost got to match it to your stone. So like, say for instance you've got, I don't know, like a 5,000 stone, so you're not quite there with the stones yet. You know, you can strop that 5,000 edge on a compound pasted like strop, whether it be linen or leather, it don't really matter. You know, and you'll get that edge shaven. You don't need to go to the real high grits to get it going. It is, well, I wouldn't say it's one of the cons, but it's definitely one of the things that is kind of hidden a little bit from people that are just starting out. Right, what we'll do is we just cut that off nice and square. What have I done with it? There it is. We'll make it a little bit longer. And we just use the grid now. Let's try not to do that. And we just use the old grid. That's what it's there for, and that's well. Extend that a little bit more. Quite hard, you know, actually, to get it with one foul swoop, because it is very thick leather. I bought this for belts. Made some nice belts out of it. My old man always tells me when he sees me, "Well, I've still got it, son." Right, so then we just need to punch the hole. So again, you can, if you've got like a donor one, you can just offer it up. We'll offer it up somewhere around there. Do you reckon that's sort of bob on in the middle? I'd say a little tiny bit to the side. Through. Oh yeah. I meant to put something under that. I was meant to put a little piece of said they're self-healing mats. I don't think they're that self-healing, are they? So you can do some finishing touches to it, but you don't have to do any of these touches. So this is called a burnisher, but you could nearly use anything. And these are edges. Can't quite remember if that's the official name for them now though, but they're edging tools. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the edges off. We get a slightly nicer edge on it. You can pick up a cheap one of these if you chose to do it, but you really don't need to do this part. This is just me. I've got all the leathercraft tools, so we might as well use them. You can do the next step with nearly anything now. You could use a pen, a dowel, just nearly anything really. Again, you don't need to do any of these. You could just punch a hole in it and get using it, hang it up. So you just wet the edges, and you don't have to use one of these. So you could use a pair of jeans. It's actually a really good thing to do, that is, as well. Jeans, you could use an old piece of canvas, cotton, an old shirt, and what you do is you just you give it the right big welly. But as I say, I've got these tools, so we will use them. And what we're doing is we're just burnishing the edges. And it will make for a slightly nicer finish on the edge. Nothing fancy though, because your hands will do this. From all the rubbing and whatnot, it's going to get over its use. Two now, done. I've just got one to extend my cutting surface. You can even get little tools that attach to your Dremel, but again, it's just all overkill really. You don't want it to be too wet when you're doing this really. There's a little medium in the middle somewhere, that's just perfect. It does suck up the water really quick. I probably will do that a little bit more off camera, but like I said, you could have just got a pair of denim, or anything denim, anything cotton, and you could have just whoosh, give it a real good rub, get it on its side, give it a real good rub, and you do nearly the same thing. A lot of people still just do that, and you know, it's perfectly fine. Right, let's have a little look at the hardware side of it. So this is the linen that come with it. I've washed it because it was covered in something, and I've been rubbing it like on and off for weeks, and it's just starting to like sheen up in places. I don't know if you're going to capture that. So it's just nearly kind of ready. I don't think this side had been used much at all. Like that side on the other, like the original part, ain't been used a lot, but sadly it just dried out. It's always a risk when you buy vintage strops. But this is just about getting near ready to use. It was a bit rough when I first sort of started testing it out a bit, and on hollow, like real hollow grinds and everything, it felt too rough to me. Like it might have been a perception thing, but either it was sort of a bit, well, concerning in a way, we'll say. Right, let's have a little gander at this. Yeah, so it goes that way. And I did actually buy this strop in a way to get the hardware part of it, because I couldn't find this hardware part of it anywhere. And I've never had a strop that had this particular type. This is like, well, I'd say this was the American way of doing things back in the day. Here in the UK we used sort of different bits of hardware basically. It was just done in a slightly different way. It was, to me anyway, it was definitely more of an American thing. Obviously chime in if you know any different. Can't say I'm really an expert on strops. But there we go really. You know, that's kind of all we need to do, I'd say. We're going to do one little thing. Just because it's my strop, and again it's something I've got. I got these stamps made years ago because I was going to sort of start a little side hustle with sort of bit leather crafting and stuff, but I never got around to it. And it had like what name I was going to use there and there, but one of them, it never come out right anyway. It was too bloody little. Let's see. Can't do no damage, can we? It's actually come out alright, hasn't it? Oh well, it made me laugh. So that's it really. You know, and when you initially like get your strop on the go and everything, it will take a little while to get it in kind of like optimum sort of condition, optimal even. You know, plenty of rubbing. Make sure your hands are not grubby. They don't have to be perfectly clean or anything, but make sure obviously they're not grubby. Because the problem is, if you wash your hands just before you're doing it, you're getting rid of your oils. So it's kind of like, again, it's that finding that middle ground, because you want to put your oils out your hands into the strop. So what I'll do is I'll hang this up, and I will put a little bit of oil on it. I might actually wax. Well, when I say oil, I mean wax actually. again, it's the same beeswax I use on everything. It's very, what would be the word? The viscosity on it's quite high for a wax. It's kind of like quite fluid. I'm missing the word here. But I won't put hardly any on it. It'll just be a little tiny dab here and there, very faint. And then I'll just give it a real good rub, get the heat into it. And we'll get using it. So I'm going to change my strops a little bit. It's one of the reasons I needed to make it. I'm going to change my stropping. I want to do some little experiments. Like I've said before in numerous videos, like stropping, something not really that I've delved deep into and everything. And I've had so many razors over the years come to me that have got full convex edges, and they were all from barbers. Like for instance, I bought that 1950s barbers lot, travelling barbers lot, and I don't know, we had like 10 razors in there. Some of them were Nos, but the ones he were using, every single one of them was convex, and I had all of his stones as well. So I had like the bevel setter, which I forget which it is now, the natural stone, because you've got to bear in mind, sort of like years ago they only had natural stones. So the edges they were getting were just inherently more rougher than what we understand today. Do you know what I mean? They didn't have Shapton 8000s, they didn't have now 12,000s, so they weren't getting mirror edges, they just weren't, you know. And they were getting more edges that were a bit more toothy, a bit more rough, and more serrations and stuff, you know. And you know, if you were a relatively well poor person, you know, you would have had even less access to decent stones. So it was more important with your strops, you see. And you know, it's only my theory, but you know, I believe a lot of people didn't even have access to like cottacles. Like it might have just been in like a, you know, like a Welsh slate, which some of them are brilliant by the way, but then some of them are a little bit rough. But then all you do is, you know, you put your compound on your linen side, whatever compound it would have been on the day, like oxide, what's it called? You know, the red stuff, because I don't really use it, can't remember what it is now. But you know, they put that on, come off the stone, give it a right old good few laps on it, get it popping there, and then just smooth the shave out a little bit more on your nice clean side. So this is what I'm going to explore a little bit with this strop, because it's something I've not done, and I've been meaning to have a go at it. And somebody actually put up a post from that was inspired from razor, is it Science of Sharp, like whoever does that website. It's a really good website, it's a very good good reference point for anything to do with, well, anything sharp. But he's got a good section on razors as well, and one of the things he does kind of test out is he buys like a real cheap sort of Chinese stone, you know, like a supposed 1,000, and then I think he gets one that's sort of like 3,000 or 4,000, and then just strops it until he can shave with it, like, you know. And again, that's the same principle of what I'm kind of talking about, how people back in the day, they definitely did it, like, because I've just had too many razors. And I actually got a razor from somebody in Sweden that was, you know, meant to be a real old timer in Eskilstuna, Sweden, where they made all the razors, and it was a razor prepared by him, shave ready. And when I got it, it was a convex edge, you know, and like it was meant to have been fully prepared by him. So I believe, you know, he was maybe taking it up to a cottacle and not caring so much about the finesse of it, and then just getting it stropped, man, and, you know, using paste or whatever he was doing. But it definitely didn't have a straight, you know, apex to the bevel. It was definitely what I'd call convex, and I shaved with it, and it was a lovely shave, and it was popping hairs. It was popping hairs a little bit different, but it was popping hairs, and it shaved marvellously. Well, anyway, I didn't want this video to get too long, so there we go. You know, again, you don't have to have the linen like that. You know, you can, you know, you could use 2 bits of leather. You know, you can use webbing straps for this, you know, like the linen side. I've got some hemp upstairs. All it is like a webbing strap. You can use all sorts of things, you know, denim. You know, you can use an old pair of jeans or anything for this side. You know, you can have 2 sides of denim. It just don't matter. But it's an easy way of doing it. Ultimately, all you need is a decent, well, a Stanley blade. I do recommend getting these snap-off ones because they're handy for this, you know, for this full stop. You need a hole punch. This one is 5mm. Get a 5mm hole punch, bit of paracord, bit of old bootlace, anything, and you just hang it up. You know, don't need to have fancy edges, fancy ends, nothing like this. Don't need no hardware. Get going, get shaving. You certainly don't need a moustache stamp. Right, see you later. Have a good one. Toodaloo.